Good morning, everybody. You are here with Listen, Learn, and Leverage. This is where we expose your blind spots and help you grow your entrepreneurial business. Today, we have the lovely Karleen Wagner. She is a health, wellness, and lifestyle coach. And we're going to get to hear about her journey today, which is unlike anyone others. That's why we do Listen, Learn, and Leverage. Hello, Miss Karleen.
Hello, Trisha. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm so good. I'm so glad you're online with your sassy hat and your sassy coat. I'm like, gosh, I don't feel sassed enough.
Actually, I love that color on you. That is beautiful. Lovely, lovely. Yes.
Awesome. Well, how about we start about you telling us a little bit about your life and your family?
All right. So I am a Colorado native, one of the few in the crowd. My husband likes to claim he's a native, but he's only been here since he was 7, so not quite.
Not quite.
He's not allowed to claim that. Yeah, I know. So I've born and raised. I have really never left. I grew up in Littleton, went to school in Fort Collins, live in Parker now with my family. I have 2 boys, 19 and 21. And it kind of pains me to say that actually, because I'm not that old. So I don't know how that happened.
I always think that myself too. I'm like, wait, no, my friends have grandbabies too. You know, some of our friends, you're like, wait. So I know you're not old enough to have those kids.
Not yet. Well, yeah. And I'm looking forward to being a grandma, but I'm like, I definitely clarify, I can wait. So I met my husband actually when I was 16, working at McDonald's. That was my first job and where we both met. And I'm not going to tell you how many years later it's been, but we've been married for 26 years this year. And so I can say that I married my high school sweetheart. It was not continuous, but I know. Good stuff.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, and so did you go to college in Fort Collins then?
I did. I went to CSU, studied to, my degree is in exercise and sports science, and it was a pre-physical therapy degree.
Yeah.
I ended up not going to PT school. I went to PTA school, which is physical therapist assistant. And that's a whole nother story, but trajectories change, right? Your priorities change, what you want to do in life changes. And so I actually worked in the field of physical therapy for many, many years before I had my first child, and then decided to stay home and raise my kiddos until they were in school full time. And then, lots of things happened during that time too. That was the first time that I became an entrepreneur. Just staying at home with my kids. And I also watched kids at home. So I also, kind of had a little daycare type thing. And it's amazing what little things happen in your life along the way that just prepare you for, what you're ultimately meant to do, which is kind of where I feel like I am now. Like I finally arrived. Well, not arrived. I'm not going to say arrived, because if you think you've arrived, then you've shut off, any future learning and growth. So I can't say I've arrived, but I know where I'm going more clearly than I ever have in my life. So that's super exciting.
So obviously the future plans you had from college, those went somewhere else.
Yeah.
They didn't go where you thought.
Yeah. Honestly, my plan was to become a PT and either own a clinic or run like a clinic or a rehab center. And, I don't know. I don't know if you know Garth Brooks' song, some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers.
Totally.
And that was me with PT school. I think eventually I would have gotten in, but I did not for the first 2 years that I applied. And it turns out to be a super good thing, because the rest of, my life could not have gone the way it did had I been paying for a master's degree and, feeling like I needed to work full time to pay off the master's degree. So things do happen the way they're supposed to. So it wasn't my plan, but it put me in the direction of where I needed to go. So I'm grateful for it.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, and then there was a health crisis though. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So going along in life, things are great. for a couple of years, I just really didn't feel good, just kind of blah. And unfortunately, I was seeing a doctor at the time who literally told me this: as you get older, you just don't feel it the same, and things don't work the same, and blah, blah, blah. The only test he did on me was an iron test, the finger prick. And I've been anemic my entire life. So I'm like, okay, that is nothing new. Like,
you're like, thanks. No.
That did nothing. So for 2 years, nothing was done. So I finally found a doctor that was willing to jump in and do some tests.
Right.
And we kind of thought it was thyroid. I mean, you know, fatigue and not sleeping and all these things. Like, I could check everything on the thyroid list. And so he checked a bunch of stuff, and then he calls. And I don't know if you've ever received a call like that, where all of a sudden just everything that was changes and everything future is different.
Yes.
And yeah, and he called and he said, well, I have good news and bad news. Your thyroid's great, but you're at 22% kidney function. So I was in kidney failure. I wasn't headed towards kidney failure. I was there.
Done. Whoa.
Yeah. So, I mean, things had to stop and we had to figure out what to do. And there was ultimately I ended up being diagnosed with polycystic kidney disease, which is a genetic disease. The funny thing is that, or the ironic thing I should say, is that nobody in my family has it. So either that or it went undiagnosed, which would be rare because, I mean, I don't know. Most of my family members on both sides lived to a fairly old age, and it would have been diagnosed by then. So, so I was a mutation. So I'm part of the X-Men now as a mutant. That's my claim to fame. No. And there's no treatment. There's no cure. There's no reversing it. It just is what it is. And so I had to look at dialysis and kidney transplantation.
Whoa.
Yeah. So went from normal life to, wow, we got to figure out something right now.
Right.
Yeah. So, so I went into the transplant clinic and they said, you know, the transplant list is 3 to 5 years long. We recommend that maybe you try to find a living donor. And being new to organ failure, I was like, so how does a living donor work, you know? And
exactly.
Yeah, and it turns out you can live with one kidney.
Absolutely.
And there are some people that are only born with one kidney, but may never even know that unless there's an issue.
Right.
So fortunately, my story has a happy ending. I was able to find a donor. I will say this was a very humbling part of my life, because I did put the word out there that this was going on and I needed a donor. Not really expecting a lot, but I was like, I need to put it out there for my family, for myself. I had 10 people offer to get tested.
Oh, that's awesome. Humans are so good sometimes.
I know. And like, I'm asking them to literally go under the knife and give me a piece of themselves. Like literally, I'm taking an organ.
Right.
So that whole process, I just learned so much about just what you said. Like, some humans can really be amazing.
They are amazing, because there's not a whole lot you can't do once you have one kidney. But like, you can't be a cheerleader anymore, I don't think. I forget where I heard that. Someone's like, well, you can't do cheerleading if you have one kidney. I don't know if any of us would be doing that at this age, but there's just a few limitations, but still there's a couple limitations. And then again, you only have one kidney. So that was awesome. But you found out of those 10, you found a donor.
Actually, the very first one who applied and they tested was the one that they chose.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So like I said, my story has a happy ending. Within a year of my diagnosis, I had been transplanted.
Wow.
So I was diagnosed when I was 40 and I had my transplant before I turned 41. And this year will be 9 years. Don't do the math on my age, but
Wait, aren't you just 40? No, I'm
Right. So for the longest time, I told my kids I was 28, and I guess they actually believed it for a long time. And, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I can pull off 28 anymore. But I was like, maybe like, late 30s, early 40s, I could pull off.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I know, that's funny. One of my friends just turned 52, and I was like, happy 39th birthday. And she's like, oh, she goes, I look terrible for 39. She goes, but I just tell people I'm 64 and then they think I look great. I'm like, and she looks awesome. Yeah, she's so hard on herself. I'm like, girlfriend, you look beautiful.
Oh, that is hilarious. I love that.
So there you go. We'll use that from now on. I don't think I want to tell people I'm 64.
No, I don't want to own that.
Not yet.
I'll own my own age. I'm not ready to own something that's not.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, so in all of this happening, this crisis, it's led you to where you are now. And tell me about your community you're building and how this came about.
Yeah. So when something like that happens, and I think this is for most people, but for me, it really, kind of put into perspective, well, life is short. You never know when something's going to happen, and makes you evaluate, am I really doing what I want to do? Am I really, going towards where I want to go? At the time, I was teaching martial arts full time. I was also running the academy I was at, which I absolutely loved. It really fulfilled me. I love training people, helping people. Gosh, teaching kids or building up in kids things like self-confidence and just respect and discipline and all those kinds of things is incredible. And even for adults, to be able to give adults tools that they can feel like they are better prepared to defend themselves and their families. And it was amazing. But I realized that for me to really progress further, because I wasn't doing anything else in the current business I was at, I would need to start my own academy, which was not out of my wheelhouse. And I know I would have been successful at it, but I really got to thinking, I'm like, okay, is that what I want to do? Do I want to have a brick and mortar where I have overhead and employees and, all that kind of stuff? And I decided while I would have been very successful in it, that's not what I wanted to do. And some of it is when you have a transplant, you have to be on some really horrible medicines. They're great for the transplant. They're not really wonderful for you. Right. And some of the medications actually really kind of make me, what do I say? Just not as energetic, especially as the day moves on. Yeah. And the martial arts, everything is after school, after work. So yes, I was like, I need to find something I can do during my strong hours of the day, so I don't have to, struggle all the time. And and these medications are permanent; they're not going away. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So I really started to reevaluate, and I looked at all the things I'd done in my life up till there, and what they involved, and what I really enjoyed, and kind of what I saw in myself in each of those roles. And I decided that I really wanted to create something of my own. And it was at that time that I was introduced to Arbonne and their healthy living program. So pre-transplant, I was in fabulous shape, but I was kind of one of those unhealthy, skinny people. Like, like my body responds really well to exercise. And so I could eat whatever I wanted. And and I did. And so when I stopped exercising as much as a result of, the transplant, I couldn't for a while. And then I had to kind of take it easier, because technically martial arts is probably one of those things you shouldn't do with just one kidney, because especially if it's a transplanted one, because if you get hit in the kidney, it could be detrimental. So I had to kind of decrease the intensity of my training a little bit. Yeah. And started to gain weight. And because of course I didn't change my diet. And so that's when I was introduced to Arbonne's healthy living program. And I realized, wow, I really need to do a better job at properly fueling my body. Right. And not just being okay with being skinny. Right. And so I am no longer in a place of skinny. However, my diet and my blood numbers are so much better than they were. And once you kind of own yourself, like, of course, I would like to be in better shape. COVID did a number on me, just like it did a lot of other people.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm healthy in what I'm eating and what I'm putting in my body.
Right.
So when I learned about that and did the program, I thought, one, this will be a great thing to kind of add to my clients in the martial arts, because then I have the fitness and the wellness. But then as I kind of continued, I thought, this is something I could really run with. And so I was introduced to Arbonne through their nutrition, but they're also skincare and cosmetics. And I thought, what a wide range of people that I could serve, and with products that are safe and clean and botanical, and like it really aligned with who I wanted to be as well.
Right.
And I wasn't necessarily at that time, but I was willing to make those changes. So that brought me forward into creating my own business, my own income. But then I kind of felt like, okay, I want a little bit more. And so I started looking at, okay, well, I have these incredible, programs and products, but I want to reach more people just in the realm of lifestyle. How are you living your life? Are you doing what you really want to do? And if you're not, what's stopping you? And to just be that voice of encouragement and permission for people to do what they want to do. This is nowhere that I thought I would be. Nowhere. I was planning on owning a PT clinic. I wasn't planning on doing Arbonne. I wasn't planning on doing my own thing, but because of that health crisis and the reflection that comes with that, I am on a whole new trajectory, and I'm so grateful.
Awesome.
And again, I'm grateful that I did not get into PT school. I'm grateful that, it sucks. I would not want anybody to have an organ transplant.
Right.
But I'm grateful for where it's brought me, and so, it's exciting.
It is exciting because people need your voice. It's funny. I was just talking to another businesswoman earlier today, and she's like, I know I've stuck my head in the sand, and I know, and we're so hard on ourselves. And I told her, I said, you need a community. And it was funny because she's been considering getting into this program. And I was like, yes, go into it, because it's a great community. And that's what you're building in the health realm. And it is so true. It's like when people think about trying to lose weight they need someone like you, because there's accountability, there's your encouragement. I mean, people just really need that, because if you don't have it and you're alone, that's how you fail.
Yeah. Well, and I can't tell you how many of my clients, this is kind of what I hear from them. Well, my doctor says I need to lose weight. My doctor says I need to work on my blood sugar. My doctor says blah, 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 blah. But the doctors don't really ever give you a how.
No.
And there are rare doctors that are super good at that.
Right.
My experience and a lot of my clients' experiences, that's not their experience.
Not so much.
And so, to be able to give people the support, like you said, the how, the community, is serving in just such a big way, because sometimes you're not given the resources and the support, and stuff is hard. It's hard to make changes in your diet, and to be able to, be part of a community that is accountable and supportive, and also educational. For me, if I know why I'm doing something, it's much easier to do it than to just say, do it. And this is a random example, but one thing we talk about is acidic versus an alkaline diet. Coffee is acidic. And so we say no coffee, at least when we start off the program.
Right.
And it's like, well, why can't I have coffee and blah, blah, blah. But if you have the education of, well, because coffee is acidic, and this is what acidic foods do to your body. And this is what it does to your body chemistry and to your gut health. Then it becomes, oh, you have an understanding of it. It's not just, I'm taking away your morning Joe and you're just going to have to deal with it, So
exactly,
the education part of that is so important as well.
It is so true. And that's what's so nice, is to have a wonderful, nurturing community. Plus, everybody's playing off each other and helping each other. Because it was a few years ago, I had a kidney stone. And so I'm sitting, it was bad. I was sitting there with my doctor's assistant, and she gave me a sheet of paper that had been Xeroxed. It wasn't even straight, it was crooked. She's like, here are the foods that are high in the things you can't eat. And I'm like, well, so diet wise, like what? So if I had to go out, I went out and I did so much research. I found a nurse who specializes in kidney stones and kidney failure, or people who are in kidney failure or headed towards it. And she's been amazing in listening to her and watching her. And she has a little coaching program herself, but she's got like this download that you can see all the foods that are high in, and I can't think of the word right now. I can't believe it. There's something in like spinach.
Calcium, or
it's not calcium. It's, oh my God, I'm just going to lose my mind not knowing this. It's, it's a really weird word. Hold on, let me see if I can just find her by
I feel like I should know this and it's not coming to me either.
Oh my gosh, it's I found her. She's actually really awesome. Her name's Jill Harris, and she's kidneystonediet.com. And she's just, I have loved her. What is it? Okay, I'm so sorry, everybody. It's like, oxalates. And
oxalates,
nobody ever talks about oxalates. What happens if you have a kidney stone that is formed by oxalates? It is a calcium, which is a little bit counterintuitive, because it's not calcium that causes them, but it's the oxalates that causes a calcium kidney stone. It's really strange. But things like beets and spinach are very high in oxalates. And so those are things that I don't eat very often anymore, but anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
But I loved my doctor. He did a great job getting the kidney stones out, which was awesome. And my recovery was pretty good. But man, the afterwards, I mean, giving me this grody Xerox thing that I was like, really? Like, this is what y'all do for aftercare?
This is the best you got?
No, it was disappointing. So that's what I love about what you're doing, is helping people to understand health and wellness and how to put that into their lifestyles. That's pretty awesome.
And I love that you actually took it upon yourself to go research and look at it. A lot of people don't. And I am very much a researcher. Like I'm always on Google. But a lot of people don't. And they just kind of, I love that. You have to advocate for yourself. Exactly. And because, well, here's the other thing. Doctors, like just general doctors, they really don't have a lot of education in nutrition.
No,
I think they get like one class. Yeah. And so, and even sadly to say, there's been some nutritionists that are so old school and have not kept up with the times.
Right.
I've had clients that have gotten advice, and it's like, what? I mean, kind of here's the advice of, well, just eat fewer calories than you put out. Okay, so I can eat, 1,500 calories worth of ice cream and cookies. It's less calories than I'm putting out, and that's fine. No, that's not fine. And to be able to, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, but because of what I've been through and the fact that I researched so much, and the program that I used was created by doctors, nutritionists, and scientists to create the program and the products that we use. Right. So I'm not coming out of left field either.
No, not at all.
But that education part and why you're doing it is just so important.
The why is so big.
Yeah, because I'm much more willing.
Well, yeah, because if you just tell, humans are just, we want to push back. You say you have to do this, people want to go, why? Yeah. And so you got to have a why. Yeah. Well, tell us about, I'm going to put your information in the chat so everybody can get you, but tell us what kind of goodies you're giving away today.
Yeah. So I have started the Living Your Best Life community with Karleen. I have a Facebook page. You can find me on Instagram, and Trisha's going to put in my website.
Yes.
And part of the big umbrella, like I said, it's more than Arbonne. My big umbrella is, you know, finding out what you're supposed to do, who you really are, who you want to be, and learning to thrive. And especially after 2020, there were a lot of things that happened in multiple factors, you know, financial and health and loss and death and all that kind of stuff. And it really did become a bit of a year for survival. And my challenge to people is, you know, there are times where you kind of need to be in that survival mode, but don't get stuck there.
Right.
You know, at some point you have to move out of it so that you can continue your life. And so choosing to thrive and not just survive. I mean, after my kidney transplant, I certainly could have sat in the sadness of what I had to give up, what I had to lose, you know, the crappy side effects of my medications, you know, all those things. But instead I chose to figure out, okay, well, this is what it is. What do I need to do to change and move forward? And humans don't like to change either, but I'm challenging people to change. If you don't like where you're at, find something new. If the people that are surrounding you are not encouraging and supportive, find new people. I mean,
totally.
That sounds horrible, but you know,
true.
Change what you're doing and who you're with. So my free download, if you go to my website, is just 7 steps on how to move towards thriving and choosing to thrive.
That's awesome.
And I'll give you a hint. Step number 1 is making the choice, because it is a choice.
It is. It's definitely a choice. I hear you. Oh, that's good stuff. Thank you so much, Karleen. This has been wonderful.
Thank you, Trisha. Love you, sweet friend.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited. This is so good. Well, I put all the information in, and I put your Facebook group in. And so come join us on her Facebook group. There'll be awesomeness in there for sure.
Yes.
Thank you, Karleen.
Thank you so much.
I'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.